So I bought a 2003 Lamborghini Murcielago from the last...
Correct pronunciation.
That's
very
right.
nice.
Murcielago, yes. From the last Fast and Furious movie, The Fate of the Furious. Tyrese drove it. It was the hero car. I bought it from Dennis McCarthy in Vehicle Effects here in Sun Valley, Sun Valley, California. I bought it in January from a tip from Ed Bolian, Mr. Vinwicki. And then from there, I drove it back. I didn't drive it. I towed it back from L.A. to Florida and proceeded to work on it for the next 9-10 months where, not just me, just a lot of different companies. We had a paint shop. We had an interior shop. Again, that aforementioned Clarity Coat. And... it's been a huge help to the channel, and also, I know what it's like to build a show car now, which is nuts, which is something I don't really want to do, but I'm probably going to end up doing anyway.
So movie cars, even hero movie cars, are generally treated like garbage.
They are so beat. So I went to the Peterson yesterday, so I can see like what the hero movie cars were. So I saw the Too Fast, Too Furious Suzuki S2000.
That thing's a little...
That thing is bad. Like that thing is wow.
The Fast and Furious 1 cars they're the worst.
Yeah,
actually, because they never thought they were gonna make another one of those things.
Yeah, there are no good like movie cars that like made it. I think the Fast and Furious 1 cars were good cars in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like modify them and Craig Lieberman.
Like Craig's car was a good car. And I think it remained an okay car. I think it didn't get too fucked up because they bought a few others to really fuck up.
Well, they also didn't know where the movie was going. So they're like, we're renting cars. And I think they rented them and then they paid to have them like painted and then repainted back.
They did. And they also, Craig gave me once, and I wish I still had it. I gave it to somebody else and never got it back. He had the original list of all the cars and then what was damaged and what the bill was. And it was a crazy amount of money they were paying to owners.
It might be on his channel.
It probably is.
He's actually built a pretty good channel. I think he has like a decent amount of subscribers.
I'm sure he does. Yeah,
I watch his stuff all the time.
Craig basically is professional Fast and the Furious car trivia now. That's his gig.
Yeah. That's
because he used to do car shit, and then he like left car stuff to do like a corporate gig for a while.
Yeah,
and I think he slowly went insane
and then he just wanted to do it again.
Needed a way back into doing car stuff. I should get him back on the podcast, but he deals with. I read the comments on his fucking Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I think the dumbest part of car Instagram is in his comments section. it's really bad.
Perhaps.
Every single fucking he replies to everyone that goes, I literally answered this in the video I'm promoting.
Yeah,
I literally answered this in the video.
No. So he needs to. Well, what he needs to do. I think Joe Rogan says this. Like, just post and drop. Like post, put the phone down,
and
like
then leave. Yeah. Rogan is an expert at that.
Yeah.
I'm going on Joe Rogan December 3rd. Self-promotion.
Awesome. Definitely see you there.
Yeah. Okay, wait. So this particular hero car, how fucked was it when you got it?
So the paintwork was it was painted in a parking lot in Iceland. So yeah, it was bad. It had no interior, it had a roll cage in it, no rear window. The side windows that are supposed to go up and down didn't because they were held up with pieces of wood. It had a shifter that was broken off and welded back at a pretty extreme angle. The clutch was not in great shape. The engine was not running well. It had a really crappy exhaust. It sounded like two angry 350Zs. And
I remember you started it for me. That exhaust
it was obnoxious,
fucking horrid.
Yeah.
It was really
I don't know
bad.
how you make that engine sound that bad, but they did it.
They really had done some number on ruining the sound of that car. I don't know where that thing came from, but
so
shit.
They had to overdub like another car onto it because it's like it did not sound like I know what my car sounds like. It sounds like the movie now.
Yeah.
Because I went through a lot of work to make it sound like that.
Yeah. Fab Speed made a titanium exhaust, right?
No, I think it's stainless steel. But it's their own design. It has these really cool resonators. and it sounds like an old F1 car. I mean, you heard it in the...
It does. In the canyons, you were behind me in the tunnel, and it sounded fucking glorious.
Yeah, it's
shout out to Fab Speed, by the way. I've been talking to them, because after I saw your post with them, I hit them up, and I was like, listen... There's no market for Countach exhausts, but
it doesn't matter. But there's a market for other cars.
Yeah,
so,
but would you be interested in making one? And now that I have a plastic bag melted all over my exhaust, I think it's time.
You can. I mean, you can make that car. Have you heard? You've heard that YouTube video of the Kreisig or whatever.
Kreisig. Yeah, Kreisig. Kreisig is a company no one ever talks about. They make the best exhaust ever for the Ferrari 430. It's the only exhaust that makes that car sound truly great.
Yeah. They do. But their exhausts are also like $12,000.
Right.
They're very, very expensive.
What are they made of?
You get what you pay
it's either stainless steel or titanium. So yeah, I'm guessing for that it's probably titanium.
Kressig.
Oh, it's like Koenigsegg. It's like there's a bunch of S's and G's and I's. I
gotta find it.
Is there an exclamation point in there?
Yeah, there's asterisks and umlauts.
There must be a way. This is it, right? Lamborghini Countach with Kressig exhaust. Yeah. It sounds, because my car has a real kind of like sort of lower
lower register.
It's a little more gruff.
So that and the Diablo have a very similar sound, and also the stock Mercy. So the stock Mercy, it didn't really sound all that great, and even like the stock Aventador had like somewhat of a like high pitch, but it wasn't really that great, and until you put another exhaust on there, and then it could like really howl.
Oh, this is it. It's 28 seconds.
Are you gonna get taken off YouTube?
I don't think so.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so that's much higher pitched than mine.
Yeah.
Here's a flyby. I'm just playing the audio. I'm not showing the video. But here comes the flyby.
I'm literally getting chills.
Well, that certainly sounds different from mine.
So that sounds similar to what my car sounds like. It like reverberates off the walls. and stuff.
Your car does sound like that. Yeah.
So I mean,
maybe Fab Speed, if you can make my car sound like Freddie's car, which is what this car sounded like.
Yeah.
Well, that would be nice.
It's basically the same engine. Like
I know.
It's they've been making the same engine since the '60s. Theoretically, you can make every Lamborghini ever made sound like that.
I know.
And a couple of Audis.
The new ones too. I mean, that's pretty much what an Aventador sounds like out of the box too.
But the Aventador it's a different engine, so it has a little bit of a different tone, like a different
is it the
voice.
Firing order? I mean, the displacement's a little bigger, but
the displacement's the same actually. It's
Isn't
a 6.5. Yeah. So
is yours a 6.5?
Mine's a 6.2. So LP 640 got a 6.5 and 670 got a 6.5.
Right. Okay.
But then they went to 6.5 new design. I don't know if the firing order is the same. It probably is, but I know that they have different stuff like variable valve timing and cam timing.
There's a lot of different stuff on the top half of the motor that's much different.
Yeah, and also I mean it's different compression ratio. It's direct injection, I think.
Yeah,
it is direct injection.
On the later ones, it is. Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of research on the Aventador last night. I was just like geeking out on Aventador stuff, and honestly, there's not like other than the Stradman, which who's James in Colorado. He bought one and he's doing all this, like he's a vlogger. There's not a ton of Aventador content other than like the car spotters and like Shmi's video.
I guess they're really expensive, and I think
but what I mean is like. There's more content on like Ferraris and like other Lambos. There's a ton of Huracan content, or if you want to get like Senna content, there's so much of it, and that car's $1 million, or like 4GT and stuff like that. So
not as much as Aventador, huh?
Yeah,
you got to hit up Dr. M3. What's his? He does a lot of Aventador content.
Yeah. It's weird. Like you see these channels, and like you look at their view counts, and like they should be getting more views. Like their stuff is good.
I think my second most viewed video of all time has an Aventador in it.
Yeah,
it's the Countach Aventador.
Oh yeah,
video,
so I was watching that last night.
I know.
So I got one. You got one more view.
Yes,
and you're driving your Countach now, right?
I know.
Yes,
isn't that cool?
Because you were talking about like, it's owned by Albertoni, and like, yeah, okay, well that sounds familiar. Yeah. So the Aventador thing is what I'm really interested in because I would like to perhaps do an Aventador next year, maybe.
What would you do with it?
Try to do a manual swap.
How do you do that?
I don't know. No. Okay. So
Well, conceptually, how would you do that?
So conceptually, you'd have to remake the center console because it's like this waterfall that obviously goes into place of the shifter.
I'll get a picture of what it looks like.
It's
here.
like this huge ungainly mass in the center of the car.
Yeah.
But one thing that's the hardest thing about that car to do is the fact that the engine layout is unlike any other car made today. So the engine is in the back, the transmission is in front of the engine, basically next to you in the passenger compartment, but then that goes through a drive shaft to both front and rear differentials. So it's more like, I don't know, it's more like a trophy truck.
Yeah. It is, or a monster truck.
Yeah,
actually.
or a monster truck. So like the engine's mounted backwards, right?
Because it has to go through a transfer case, and then it's got to go through all the different differentials and everything else. So
so you see that huge like big hump.
Yeah,
that would have to be remade. So maybe.
But that hump, there's a lot of shit that you kind of need on here.
Oh no, you'd retain like most of that stuff. So those buttons on the bottom, that's for but below that.
Down at the very, very bottom here.
So that can go completely because that's reverse and manual mode.
Okay.
So you can relocate all the other buttons, like because that's like for infotainment.
Stereo, power. You don't get into power windows until the very top row.
Right. Yeah,
those are kind of the essentials. The other ones are HVAC and radio.
Yeah. So if you just like basically, if you can visualize this, kind of split that down the middle. So now you have one plane that's just flat, and then another one that's like kind of
right.
vertical.
Okay. So if you cut it horizontally in front of the starter button and then sort of lay that panel flat and then push the other panel away.
Because the only thing that's in there is that CD player that it has. So it has like a CD player, like I don't know if it's navigation.
It's for the navigation system.
Yeah. So which I will be fine without. I think I'll live if I don't have that. But I think the main concern of mine is that I would probably use a Murcielago transmission with a gated shifter, and I'm worried about the shifter placement because it's a physical linkage to the shifter.
Right.
If you were doing like a Gallardo, then there's just a link, like cables. Yeah. So you can lengthen cables, you can put them anywhere. But with this, there's a physical linkage down to the transmission. So that transmission is connected to the engine. So if that engine might have to move or not, like there's a lot.
Well, beyond that, can you make this car run on a manual gearbox correctly? Do you just like confuse the engine to think it's in neutral all the time?
So there's an easy way to do it, which is just to get the car running. So you can just you can use something called a can sniffer. You just plug it into the OBD2 and it looks at all the different codes. Like there's can lines inside the OBD2. So you look at the lines of code and then you have to decode every single one. So let's say you turn on a turn signal and then that gives you a little blip. You go, okay, so that's turn signal. So I know that's not it. And then like if you go, I'm putting it into drive and then the thing lights up. Like okay, so I need to replicate this. So you could just write up like a few lines of code that tells the computer that, okay, the car's in neutral. It's always going to be in neutral. However, the car might not, like, you never think about this, but the car might not do things in neutral that you want it to do. It might not actually drive and do like, proper, like its load and like it might not know a lot of things about itself. So
there's a lot of computers in this car.
Right. But, you'd be surprised at how little the computers actually talk to one another. So
if you eliminate entire systems, you might not affect other ones?
Yes. So I know the engine ECU is separate from the TCU, which is good because you can often eliminate that. So the engine ECU, other than going maybe standalone, which is definitely like I could do that, just get a standalone engine computer. But I want to have this as a something that I could do and maybe sell to other people if they want to do an Aventador manual. I don't know if the market's probably not going to be great for that.
It's probably a thin market for that.
But if it drives okay,
I mean, if you're trying to sell 3, okay. If you're trying to sell 50, I don't know.
No, well, here's the thing. You don't know, like, if it drives okay and it doesn't have any nasty check engine lights and all this stuff, like if you figure all that stuff out, I think it'll probably do well. I don't think this is not a money making thing for me, obviously, but I'd rather have this be like, it could be like an open source thing. I'll be like, hey, I'll give you the schematics and like I can give you the CAD files and you can make it yourself. But
what does a Mercy manual gearbox cost?
I don't know, but I know who has one.
Does Ed Bullion have one sitting around?
Yes, Ed Bullion has one, and he's not doing anything with it. And guess what? It's mine. So
is it a manual or is it
manual? Yeah.
Wait, question, Vinny. Do manual and automatic Mercies have the same physical gearbox, just with the?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like my Vanquish.
It's all e-gear. Well, like all the stuff is all done e-gear style.
Right.
With them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, they spared all expenses.
Yeah, wait, no, that's an interesting point. So you literally, most people, even if it was kind of crappy, when they got it, wouldn't just tear apart a Lamborghini in their garage. Obviously, you have more than the average person's skill and more than the average person's garage. But
well, I appreciate that.
What did you find when you took the car apart, just in terms of the things that weren't fucked from the movie, but that were just Lamborghini things?
So what's interesting about this is like it's so different than the Audi Lamborghini. So Audi took over Lamborghini in, I want to say like 2000.
The 01 Diablo was the 6.0 was the Audified Diablo,
but not really.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, it was improved in general.
Somewhat.
Audi didn't really take over until Aventador.
Right, but it's generally accepted that Audi's influence improved the Diablo, but even if that's not entirely true.
But yeah, they might have written down some memos or something, but they didn't design
Audi's
cars.
engineers were, the Diablo was already there. Audis engineers cleaned it up a little bit. The Aventador was the first blank slate combination Audi, because even the Gallardo was still
the big one.
Italian.
Audi was a big part of Gallardo.
Yeah.
So yeah. So when I took apart my Gallardo, it was like it was just taking apart a regular car. So I was like, okay, well, things fit here. There's bolts that go in here. That's fine. It's just a little more expensive. So that was fine.
So like parts are expensive, but like if you could work on cars, you could probably work on that car.
Yeah, yeah. And in a lot of cases, it's easier because with a Gallardo, you have a lot of room. It's basically an engine with like a rigid frame around it. It's like a skateboard with a big engine in it. And it was pretty easy. I took the engine out in like 2.5 hours. Like it was nothing. But the Mercy's a little different because the Mercy is handmade. And I went to what is it, like How It's Made or whatever. Like I watched that show, and they did a thing on the Mercy, like LP640 or LP670. And what's interesting is that the Gallardo was on an assembly line. Yeah. So like everything's robotic. Like they have some people doing some hand-built stuff, but the Mercy is like a handful of people pushing it across like the floor. You have these old ladies like beating leather into submission, trying to get over the dash. They're like grunting, sweating. You see like
this is how they made Countach's too.
Oh yeah,
exactly. So like the welders are like welding the frame, and like they have a little hammer. Tick, 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 tick.
I was laughing because I mentioned him. I was like, did you get it to the point where you got to the subframe and see what the quality of the welds are like? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, it looks like a small, like I told him, like, it looks like a small Guatemalan children welded the frame together.
Yeah, I was like, I could do better than that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because you think this car is so like unobtainium. Like, wow, it's so beautiful, and look at the lines, and it's great. Like they do really good styling. But then once you like rip off that styling, like, oh, this is like scaffolding. Like this is literally like that's why the car weighs 4,000 pounds.
Yeah,
it's all made of steel. Box section. Okay.
Yeah, my car is scaffolding too, but it was a little more accepted when they did it in my car.
So the Countach has a lot in common with the Mercy. Like the way they made it is almost exactly the same. Like I think that the only thing that they had different was maybe like the technology in the radio.
Yeah.
But like everything else was
automatic climate control.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
basically it.
Which is out of a Rover 45.
Is it?
Yes.
Nice.
Because I had some warning some warning code on my climate control. And then I said, okay, Lamborghini they didn't make this climate control because it's in the Zonda. And
it's in the Zonda.
And I'm like, Zonda, that's a parts bin special. Like that entire car is a parts bin special. So then I started looking at it, and I did like a reverse Google image search, and I saw like a Rover. And there's like a Rover forum. So I just went on the Rover forums, and then like they had all the information. They had the wiring diagrams. I'm like, okay, well there you go.
Perfect.
That's how you do it.
It's amazing.
So never ever pay for a Lamborghini climate control. It's a complete ripoff. You can get it with $20.